just come back from 2 weeks of riding my bike in the Himalayas. We were there to make 2 films for GCN Plus, which will drop later in the year.
It's a tough job, but someone's got to do it.
It would have been the trip of a lifetime, but unfortunately, I had to go with Hank. No, seriously, it was absolutely amazing. Since getting back though, I've been asked a lot, what has 2 weeks of bikepacking at altitude done to my fitness? And it's a very good question. I'm dying to know the answer, and I suspect it might be relevant to a fair few of you as well, who I'm sure are in a similar position with your riding and fitness levels as me, which is to say that I ride as much as I can without trying to let it impact on my family and my work. So basically I squeeze as many hours as I can in without being a So that works out as between 5 and 6 hours a week. A big week for me is 8 hours, and then a bad week is 3. And it's enough for me to keep a good level of fitness, but my fitness never gets better. Sound familiar? So what has 2 weeks of doing 3 times as much volume as normal done to my fitness? But is bikepacking a sneaky way of getting extra training in, and has that extra volume turbocharged my riding? Plus, altitude varied between 1,000 and 5,500 meters. Has that been an added element too?
Now, I didn't do a dedicated fitness test before I went, but it's not a problem because I pretty much know where my fitness is. As I said, because it never changes, it's always the same. And part of that knowing where I'm at is my Zone 2 rides. Zone 2, you remember, is a really effective riding intensity that supposedly improves your mitochondrial function, or in old money, basically builds your base fitness. Now, we've got a few videos on the subject, one of which is about how to find your Zone 2. So I'm really confident that I know where it is. And I found that my Zone 2 rides before going to the Himalayas, on Zwift, I'd average about 245 to 250 watts. Since getting back, I'm basically doing the same ride, but for 25 watts more, for the same heart rate, and importantly, the same breathing rate as well. What's interesting though, is that actually, although I'm still in Zone 2, I can feel it much more in my legs after the session. Now that sounds a little bit strange, doesn't it? But I think it can be explained by one of 2 ways, perhaps even both of them actually. Firstly, in that, as I understand it, as you get better at doing Zone 2 riding, you do more of it, you become fitter, your Zone 2 metabolic state becomes a higher proportion of your theoretical maximal sustainable aerobic power. So effectively, it does become harder the better you get at it. I think also perhaps, whilst I'm aerobically fitter, my legs haven't quite caught up with that newfound metabolic fitness. And I think that's probably because we were riding at such high altitudes, although that had a training effect and we were working hard and getting aerobically fitter, we simply weren't able to put out half as much power through the pedals. And so our legs have kind of deconditioned ever so slightly. So it makes me wonder what will happen at higher intensities. What is my top end fitness looking like? I think we're gonna have to do a 5-minute max test to find out. Let's see, shall we? This little innocuous road is one I've used countless times over the years for tests just like this. It's just like an uphill drag. It used to be a bit short actually when I was fitter, but I don't think I'm gonna have that problem today. Right then, let's go for it. Here goes then. Not a test to look forward to, this one, but anyway, there's only one way to find out how fit you are. Actually, that's not quite true, is it? Just done a load of Zone 2 work that was really nice and told me precisely. But anyway, there's no substitute for full gas effort. Ready? Three, 2, 1, go. Right, anaerobically then, I have got worse, unfortunately, which does lend a bit of support to my altitude training theory. Certainly when pro cyclists go altitude training, they sleep high and then train low so they can still ride, putting the same power output as they would when they were racing. It might also be that we simply didn't really do any anaerobic capacity work because we were bikepacking, and that definitely wasn't the point. It does mean that there is one last test to do, one last piece of the puzzle, a combination of low intensity and high intensity, an old school FTP test. As you can see, I am back indoors. I don't unfortunately have the terrain or the roads to be able to do a kind of 20-minute max test outside. Outdoor Zwift, however, is the perfect venue for it. You're never going to run out of roads, not if you're doing a 20-minute test. Now, I'm also not going to do your conventional best power over 20 minutes because it's quite hard, and what I tend to do instead is a test that was created by a friend and coach, Ooyy Beckinsale. So you guess your FTP, you estimate it, in my case about 350, and then you start your test doing a 10-minute block at 10% below FTP, so 90% of your FTP. Then you do 10 minutes at your estimated FTP, and then you do as long as possible at 110% of your FTP. And then when you go to your blow, you take your best 20-minute average over that duration, okay? So theoretically, if you guess your FTP right, you'll do 5 minutes at 110%. The reason I do it is because it's actually the least bad test I've ever come across. It basically only hurts for the last couple of minutes, which means you're far more likely to repeat it, and therefore I kind of know roughly where I'm at. This bottom bit is so steep, I've kind of run out of gears. No, I'm all right. I'm slightly regretting leaving it on 100% trainer difficulty after our battle with Sepp Kuss on Outdoor Zwift, because even though I've got 35, 30, it's a little bit tall. Minute and a half left on my theoretical threshold block. I sort of feel like this is okay, sustainable, but I'm not going to know really until I'm into the next one. Basically, if I can hold 5 minutes on this next one, then I will be the same fitness as I was, 20-minute power anyway. Anything over that I can do, then I'm winning. Five, 4, 3, 2, 1. Here we go. Oh, immediately, that feels horrible. Seven and a half. Well, I am happy about that. Results time, there has been an improvement in that 20-minute power. Whether or not it is an accurate reflection of FTP, I think it's slightly academic, given that I think most people are disagreeing what FTP even is these days. But anyway, nevertheless, on that test, I've seen a 4% improvement, which is not bad for 2.5 weeks work. So the take home from this whole video, I think, is that bikepacking can be super effective training in terms of building that aerobic fitness.
it seems to have been super effective for me. Add in the altitude, which I think also has helped considerably, although potentially also slightly counterproductive with anaerobic fitness. But it kind of harks back to what Nick Craig said in that video about training for veteran athletes. A week of high volume, low intensity sets him up for 6 months at a time, so here's hoping. What I'm going to do next is a load of high intensity work, maybe some strength training, and then hopefully I can capitalise on that aerobic fitness. Anyway, let me know what you think about this. Have you done something similar? Either gone away for a week of riding in the sun and accumulated that big volume, or have you been bikepacking and seen similar benefits to your fitness? Get involved in the comment section. I'll be super interested to read them. Also, give this video a big thumbs up if you've enjoyed it. And remember, if you don't subscribe to GCN already, why not? Do it now.